Welcome. My name is Ragnar Engnes. I have been working as a developer in Vidinco since 2005, and we are continuously trying to make it easy for you to import your own data into WATS. And today I'm going to demonstrate how this has been made simpler using a Visual Studio template. So first of all, we're going to install the Visual Studio template. You will find the template as an attachment to this presentation. I will walk you through the code in the template, and we will connect to the WATS account, and I will show you how you can debug the converter. And at the end we will install the converter on a 5.1 WATS Client to run automatically when you drop files in the right place. Okay, so let's start installing the template. Start installing the template. I've already downloaded it to my desktop. You will find a link in the article. If the templates of Visual Studio is located in your Documents folder under Visual Studio Templates, Project Templates, and this is C# based, so I place it here. Like this. Now, when I open Visual Studio, and we're gonna like this, you will find the template named WATS Converter, and it should automatically suggest WATS Converter 1. That's fine. We just say OK. And you have a sample working converter. It might be that you have to restore NuGet packages because the WATS API is referenced as a NuGet package. Like you can see here, you can find it in NuGet like this. Okay, then I'll show you what this converter does. It's based on a very simple format. Let's say that your data looks like this. You have the double slash, means just a comment, and then you have a header line consisting of the serial number, part number, an operator name, start date, and sequence name. And here you have a sample header. And then we just add two numeric tests with the name, the step name, the measure, the low limit, the high limit, and the unit. Okay, so this is a very simple data format. What you see in the project here is I have this data folder, I have the sample file of a report, I have a test project or a test class, and I have the converter itself. So let's just start looking at the test project. If you have the test Explorer open, you can go here and you can see there are two tests methods. One is the setup client, which is what you need to set up the client to work with your SkyWATS account. So here I'm connecting to a site called Debug, and in here you either put the token that you receive when you sign up for the SkyWATS account, or you can use your username and your password. That's also possible. So this is the first thing you do. You can just run this test. And your client will be set up and ready to go. The next I have here is test to run the converter. So it enables you to debug it. And what it does is to initialize the API. That's something you just have to do. You create an instance of your converter. Then I open a file stream with a file I want to import. And then I call the import report method of my converter. And if I press F12 to go into this, I find the source code of the converter. Okay, and what is here is I implement an interface called iReport converter. And the first thing here is that I use some arguments in case there are data that is not contained in the report file. I can provide them by defining these parameters. It's actually this that exposes the parameters to the WATS client later on. We're going to look into that when we install the converter. And then we go to the import report. Then I just use the WATS API found in the documentation. I use this stream and I create a text reader because it's just a text file, line separated, and also the lines are then separated by a semicolon. So I read the first line, and if it's different than 0, I go skip the comments, and if the UUT report is null, I create the UUT from the header. You can see the code here. I pass it the API and line that I just read. So then I split the line from semicolons, and then I call the API create UUT report to create it. And it has a lot of parameters. It has the operator name, which I found here. It has the part number, and here you see I do not have the part revision, so I get that from the parameters. Here is the serial number, and the operation type code is what kind of test this is, and it's done with a code. In this case the default is 40. I think that's a functional test. Okay, and after creating this, I set the start date and time by parsing the date field in, and then I use the parse exact method of the date time and use this format string and using an invariant culture. Okay, and if this is done, I know that the rest of the file is numeric limit tests. So I do the same thing here, split the line, and I use the unit test report which I created here, and I add a numeric limit step with a step name, and I know that first comes the measure, and then there's the comparison operator, which in this case is greater than, equal, less than equal, and I pass in the low and the high limit and also the unit. Okay, that is a very simple converter, I must say, and let's try to debug it. Then I can go to here, we can set the breakpoint already here, and I just right click on the test and I say debug. So okay, so then I first initialize the API, pressing F10. I create the converter, open the file stream, and then I jump into this import report. So this way you can easily see how we can debug this thing. The line as now has a comment, so it just skips that. Another comment. Now it reads the header, and as you see now we got an empty report containing the part number, etc. So read the next line, it's a comment. Okay, here we got a measure, and yeah, that's it. I just run the rest of the test, and that went okay. The thing we have to do here is to submit the report to WATS. So this means that the report should be sent to WATS already. And if I go to the debug SkyWATS account, in the reporting, I can search for serial number SN1. And yes, it's there. And you see the test results. So that is fine. I can see now that the converter is working. The next thing I wanted to do was to show you how you now can install this on a WATS client to support a production environment. And then I first have to pick up the DLL. You can do that by go here, and you go to the bin, debug, and the converter is this one. That's the whole thing. And I copy that. Then we go to another machine, this one, that already has the WATS 5.1 client installed, and I copy the converter DLL to my desktop. Next we do is to configure the client. You do that by right-clicking this B icon, and you have to be an administrator to do this. And this is already set up. The connection is to the correct debug skywats.com, and to install the converters you go here to the converters tab, and then you add a converter. We can give it a name. This is simple demo, for example, and you browse for the DLL. It it's found here on the desktop. So we do an open on that. Now this is populated with converters inside the DLL. There could be more converters than one, but this is good for now. The input path is where the converter will look for files. So if I press browse here, it automatically suggests this program data Virinco WATS. And it's a good reason to put it under here, because then the security settings of the file system will allow the client to modify files in this folder. So we just now say simple demo here, and the filter will, these are text files, so it will be star.txt, and then you decide what to do with the reports after they have been converted. So then you can move them to a subfolder called done. You can zip them in an archive per month, or you can simply just delete it. I select this for now. And there's also a selection here called parameters, where you remember these parameters were the parameters I defined in the converter. The operation type code 40 was obviously programming. I could see that from the report. So now I just changed this to 10, which means software debug. There's a list of these operation types where you can find in the control panel under processes, and you can also define new ones and give them a unique code. So I just press the apply button here, and it asked me to restart the WATS Client service, which is needed, and it also will copy this DLL to the program files folder. So this is really all there is. The converter should now be working. So if I go into the drop folder or the input path, and if I place a text file there, let's go back to this machine, and we can pick up this simple format and just copy that report. I go back to this machine, and just for fun, let's paste it first to the desktop and do an edit, and let's change the serial number to serial number 2, like that. And now just copy again and place it here, paste it. Yeah, let's go back and see if we can now find more reports. SN. We can use a wildcard. Okay, so now you see we got a serial number 2. Okay, but I think this demonstrates how easy it is to use the template to create your converter. Thank you for now. There will be more.